Hello everybody and welcome to Qing. What we're going to be doing this time around is a minimize maximize guide. I'm going to be taking all the information that I found on Qing guides all around the internet, from Reddit to Steam forums to the main forums to other YouTube videos. I've taken everything and I put it all together into what I consider to be one of the better ways to start your game as Qing. Now, starting off as Qing obviously requires certain aspects that probably come out a little cheesy or maybe even a little exploity, and obviously we're going to start off with probably the most powerful exploit, which is obviously swapping the market capital to Formosa. From that point, what we're going to do is we're going to click on Formosa, bring up the buildings, and we're going to delete the port. Doing so will effectively force our country to have a 0% on the Qing market, and they'll only have 100% on the main market capital. And by doing that, we can effectively force the game to recognize that we have no access to grain, and that will give us the Cornlaws. Now, the reason why I'm exporting the grain right after that is because it's actually sometimes faster. It'll probably get you Cornlaws within the first day instead of having to wait 9 full days for it to actually, show up. The game is a little finicky like that, especially once you run through it. For now, it's not showing up for us, but what we're going to do in the meantime is we're still going to go on to the filter, and we're going to bring up grain. We're going to put on encourage exports. However, we're not going to unpause yet. We got a lot more to do. Click on politics, go to government, go to reform government, bring in the rural folk, hit confirm, and bring up serfdom, and click on homesteading as your main law. We need homesteading as soon as possible. The earlier you get it, the better off you're going to be. Just trust me on this. The next thing is go into your research, go to society, and the first thing you want is the 10% mappy. You need it for this guide. Trust me, it is imperative that you get it. The second thing, obviously, is recognition, and the only way to get recognition is to have colonization. That is a good thing to have. The next thing, obviously, is line infantry. A lot of people don't agree with this one. They'd rather go for atmospheric engines, but for this guide, you don't really need atmospheric engines super duper early. That's kind of why I like this so much. I believe it was Mu Lambda Theta who convinced me of this, and he is the reason why this guide kind of exists in the first place, because instead of going for atmospheric engines, we can now instead beeline for line infantry, which will allow us to attack a lot of things much earlier than we would otherwise. From that point, go for atmospheric engines and then go for railways. Now at this point, what I would suggest doing is going in to your state actions. Just incorporate every state. The mappy issues that you're going to have with the states otherwise are going to be a bit of a pain, and unfortunately a bunch of these states are going to be ones that we're going to use for our construction. And believe it or not, we're going to be doing a ridiculous amount of construction. In fact, my suggestion before we do that was we're going to click on the construction up here, and we're going to switch everything to iron frame and then back to wooden buildings. The reason why is because it just saves time. It puts everything on wooden buildings right away instead of having it partially. And from that point, we're going to go into Beijing, and we're going to swap that onto iron frame. That's going to be the only iron frame buildings that we're going to have. Everything else is going to be wood frame. The reason why is because you're going to be at about 60% with the iron, and that is okay because you're probably not going to hit 75% until probably 10 years down the line, maybe even 5 years down the line, whatever. But from here, we're now going to click on construction sector, and we're going to build 135 construction sectors. Why? Well, right now we have 30 construction, and we're going to want 300. How do we get that? 130 times 2 comes out to 270, brings us to 300. That's how many you need. That means 15 in every state. So Shaanxi, that's going to be 15. We're going to go 30, 45, 60, 75, 90, 105, 120, and the last one doesn't matter. I mean, I don't think there's any iron places left that are decent. We can't really use Beijing because they have infrastructure issues. Urga's got infrastructure issues, and all of these have infrastructure issues. So we'll just do Fujian, and that's 135 for us. Perfect, but we're not done yet. In fact, what we're going to do after we do that is going to go into resources, and we're going to build a bunch of logging camps in pretty much all of the same, we'll just say 5 for now, in all of the same areas that we just built our construction sectors in. And the reason why is obviously because 300 goes by really, 135 actually builds really, really quickly, believe it or not. And you're not going to be done with your setup before the construction is done. From this point, go into your budget, fix your budget, put it onto medium. For now, what we're going to do is we're going to swap this probably down. I guess we'll just keep it at 800 for now. We'll fix that after. We'll put in grain, opium, liquor, and tea. I know a lot of people would like to put social mobility down, but trust me when I say this, you want money. You need money. In fact, I'm going to suggest putting military wages to very, very low. It is imperative that you get as much money as humanly possible in the early game. It is super duper imperative. Otherwise, you're going to run into financial issues and go into debt. Probably by the time you hit about 1840, or sometimes even earlier if you're very unlucky when it comes to getting homesteading. And so it's always a good idea in that regard. The next thing you're going to want to do is just fix your armies. Just right click, hit disband, hit C right afterwards. It's really quick. It doesn't take too long, at least that I've found. You could organize it a little bit better, but really you just put it into 3 armies and put your mobilizations in after you put it into 3 armies at that point. You don't really have to put any more effort in than that. So we're just going to put our mobilizations in, have it fixed up early because we might need it later, just in case we decide to attack Gaza or something along the lines of that. For this guide, you don't actually need to attack Gaza. It's just something extra you can do. Just remember that every time you do go to war, what we're about to do will take longer, and I'd rather get it done as soon as possible. Next up, go into your declared interest, uncheck everything. I guess you can leave Indochina just in case. A lot of people will keep Indochina specifically for going after Singapore. For this guide, we're actually not going to go for Singapore, and I'll explain why very shortly. The reason why we're going for the Rhine is because we want to befriend France as soon as possible. Okay, so here's the thing. We're going to unpause very, very shortly, and we're going to get Cornlaws. Unfortunately, we don't have it fixed up here where it's showing at 0%. It doesn't always work that way. Sometimes you will get it within day 2. Sometimes you get it within day 9. Sometimes you'll get it within day 13. For this guide's purposes, it doesn't really hurt that much. You might lose 1 tick of money at that point. It's not that big of a deal. Anyhow, we are now going to go into our block, and we're going to form a block before we unpause. Get Sovereign Empire going. Go for vassalization. The reason why is because you're getting an extra 100 or so. No, I guess in this case 75. But that's enough for an extra 100 so we can get a little bit more of our lovely, lovely gold. We need all that money. Oh, and by forming the block, we actually force the game to recognize that it's a 0% Qing market, which means we will be able to get Cornlaws within day 2 instead of day 9 or 13. That's perfect. Very, very perfect. Okay, so here we go. We are now going to unpause. Alright, now that we're ready to unpause, go down to speed 1, unpause, get your Cornlaws. You can now go back to speed 5 at that point. And we're going to go into diplomacy, release subject, and then click on Formosa. Make sure to release it as just a subject country. Do not play as it. Do not give them independence. You don't need to. And it will move your market capital to your main capital. Again, if you want to cheese a little bit extra, you could actually move your capital like Shaanxi, or even inland as far as, say, like Gansu or Qinghai. And by doing that, it'll make it way harder for somebody to take your capital and market capital without really hurting you. And like I said, it will move your market capital where your current capital is. So if you do that beforehand, it is actually a really good way to protect yourself in a multiplayer game. However, we're not going to worry about that. We're only for single player at this point. So we're going to unpause and go all the way to January 26. It's going to take a couple seconds here, but once we get that, I'm going to explain pretty much all the reasons why this guide even exists. We're obviously going to click we have to do something. Now, in this situation, you have 5 methods, only 5 methods of dealing with the opium crisis. The first method to dealing with the opium crisis is obviously fighting against Britain. In that situation, you're probably going to have to do a bunch of boat cheese. Make sure that you somehow take London before they can take any of your land, and that is much harder than it sounds. I have won against Britain multiple times, but it is not fun, it's not easy, and it's going to cost you an absolute mint of your money, and you want all of your money for this playthrough. The second way, we're not going to talk about Singapore yet. We're going to talk about the second way right now. The second way is obviously to put a declared interest down on Southern Africa, wait for it to run through, and then after it runs through, you attack Transvaal. If you do that, they will automatically join Great Britain into the war, but Great Britain won't be asking for any concessions. Only Transvaal will ask for concessions, but they're going to ask for 23,000 of your money from a diplomatic pact, because obviously they want war reparations. And again, for this type of playthrough, for maximizing to the absolute point, you're not going to want to give up your money. You want that $23,000 to get as much construction as early as possible, and giving up money is not how you're going to do that. Again, if you go for Transvaal, you will have to go all the way until the actual war starts and then capitulate after the fact. Otherwise, Britain will not get a truce. If you back down while attacking Transvaal, it will not work. The third way is to go into your buildings and to delete every single one of your ports. If you do that, they can't take a treaty port. I'm not kidding. That actually works still. It's ridiculous, but it does actually work. Now, the fourth way is the meta way. This is the one that's most commonly used for everybody. You go into Singapore, you take treaty port, you unpause at that point, you bring it up, and once you do that, you're going to see here secondaries. Yep, secondary demand, transfer Tibet, secondary demand. Again, though, it always, every single time, I don't think I failed at this point where they've demanded a war reparation as a primary demand. And again, for this playthrough, giving up our primary demand is not the way that we want to do things. So there is a fifth way, believe it or not. The fifth way is probably the most cheesiest of ways. Somebody will even call this an ultimate exploit, but it is the only way to go through the Opium War without having to actually declare war and fight a war, which loses you money, or to give up money in war reparations. So if you're maximizing, this is unfortunately the only way I've found that has actually worked. I think if you go for Singapore, there's a small, insignificant chance that they won't demand a war reparation as a primary. But in that situation, it's not guaranteed. This, however, is pretty much guaranteed. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to wait until the end of the month, January 31st in this case, right? And then you're going to click on ban the opium trade. Now what we're going to do is we're going to unpause until February 1st. Boom, February 1st. But look here. We're no longer at 4 years and 11 months. We're at 4 years and 10 months. That is because the tick for the opium trade happens at the beginning of the month. So if you activate it at the end of the month, the very last day, that would be, January 30th, February 28th, and January 31st, February 28th, etc., etc. And if you remember the ends of every single month, you can set it so that you only have 2 days where Britain can actually attack you. Now, I have done this multiple times now, and I've actually only been attacked once out of probably 10 tries. Now, this is RNG heavy, but it's pretty dang good. And I got my agitator already. That's amazing. Wow, that is pretty lucky getting him in February 1st. Dang, okay. But again, right after you do the ban and you get that 1 month tick, just take it off and you'll get your authority back. And that's good because what we want is we need that authority and we need to use it specifically for suppressing the absolutist movement and bolstering the liberal movement. And the reason why is because we want this guy in office as soon as possible. And unfortunately, because he's not pressuring the group, let's click on the political movement and take a look here. Because he's not pressuring the group that we want him to pressure, which is the scholars or the landowners, we can't force him into office. Now, the best way to do that, obviously, is to weaken their pressure in the absolutist movement. I'm actually not sure if this does anything. If it does do something, I mean, most people have told me to do this, specifically in Discord, but if it does do something, great. If it doesn't do something, you could probably even min-max it even better by getting even more consumption taxes in there, and that would be lovely. But again, if you don't effectively, make sure that you do boost the liberal movement so that you can get them in as fast as humanly possible. And at that point, we're just going to run it through and make sure to get homesteading as fast as you can. And I mean as fast as you can. The faster you get homesteading, the better this guy's going to work. Now, before we unpause and start doing some fast forwarding, let's fix our time and let's also reduce the government wages down. I would like it a little bit higher here, especially in the early run, but that's not going to be that big of a difference for us. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to go into diplomatic actions, and we're going to rival everybody that we can. It's okay, they're weak and they don't really matter to us anyways, so do it, and then go to improve relations and make friends with France. Now, they're probably going to start up cautious with you, so you're not going to be able to... Oh, they're disinterested with us right now. If they stay disinterested with us, that's good. In fact, we should probably start trading with them right now. At least things that won't cost us too much money to have up there. In fact, we should probably fix our trade routes while we're at it. Get rid of all these grains that don't really make us any money. And pretty much anything that's not making us a huge amount of money. So that's going to be the only one that we keep. In the meantime, make sure to become very friendly with France in the meantime, because we want them on our side, and one of the best ways to do that, obviously, is to trade with them. By trading with them, they might not become cautious. If they do become cautious, it will take you a little bit longer to really, truly get close to them. But by doing exports where we actually do make money with them, and we're not losing any money with them, we're in good standing at the very least. At least we're making a little bit of money off of it. And hopefully they like us enough that they won't go cautious. And effectively, once we get pretty much down to, I think in this case, since I probably put 10 in already, we'll need to be around minus 40. If you're lucky and you start off with them where they are minus 1,061, you could pretty much get a trade agreement with them day one at this point. But for us, we're going to have to be a little bit patient, and that's unfortunate. But sometimes you just got to wait until you're at +2 with them, as long as they don't go cautious. If they go cautious, that's unfortunate, but it will take a little bit longer at that point. So at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start effectively fast forwarding, so you don't have to listen to me ramble this entire time. Alright, we're finally capable of putting our lovely little agitator into office. Perfect. We can grant leadership. We now have that 56% on our homesteading. Unfortunately, we are cautious with France because of their strategic interest. That's unfortunate. We are going to have to wait until they get off cautious. No matter how much trade we do with them, if they are cautious, it's not going to matter. It's always going to be a minus 50. And we already have a plus 75 on trade routes. So the moment they get off cautious, we should be able to get a trade agreement with them. It might take a year of us befriending them before it gets to that point. I think you have to be at least plus 20. Maybe be amiable with them on relations. But we will eventually get there. You just got to be patient with it. That's unfortunate, but beyond that, we just got to watch our homesteading and hope that we don't fail one more time. If we fail one more time, it's a run killer. My suggestion is to just restart at that point. Again, if you get attacked by Britain, restart. If you fail homesteading, restart. If you fail Laissez-Faire, probably should restart at that point as well. Those are three things that are run killers, and it's all RNG based. I hate to break it to you, but sometimes when it comes to min-maxing, you are going to have to deal with RNG. Now, let's get back to fast forwarding, shall we? Oh, and before you unpause, make sure you go into your government screen and take off the stop bolster and stop suppression. The reason why is because you're going to want that extra authority. You're going to want to be able to put it into a couple more taxes. So for us in this situation, we're probably going to take services, liquor, and tea, and I'm guessing luxury furniture. Beautiful. And then we'll swap it back down, and by doing that, we get a little bit of extra money. You're going to want every extra dollar you can in those gold reserves. All right, now we're going to unpause. We finally got homesteading, and that is absolutely perfect for what we need, because look what happens here. It increases the minimum owned agricultural building levels and ranches levels. That is something that is very, very good for us, and the reason why is because it increases the standard of living of all of your peasants at that point. And by increasing the standard of living, you will eventually be able to increase your taxes to probably very high, maybe if you're really, really lucky, even very, very high. And by doing that, you will make yourself an absolute mint of money, which will give you everything that you need to keep your construction going. And we're going to take Laissez-Faire for now. That is something that's very important as well. But take a look at what we're doing with construction already. We're already at 85 construction. We got so many things being built right now. Our private industries are doing okay at the moment. We only have one at a time, but that does keep us afloat while we keep building our construction. Never, ever, 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 ever propose an investment agreement when it comes to France. If you do, they will just buy out everything from you, and you will get no investment pool at that point, and it will hurt you quite significantly down the line. So again, only go for the trade agreement with France. Let's see if I can get them off of cautious yet. Nope, we're still on cautious. We will try to fix that later. Now, let's get back to unpausing. Now, the reason why I paused here is because I just took a look at my standard of living, and it is pretty fantastic, to be honest. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into our budget, and we're going to swap off to very, very high. Unpause, repause. I guess it'll take a couple seconds. We're okay with the middle, the middle strata being a little unhappy with us. They're not going to be a huge amount of radicals, to be honest. So we're actually going to stay on very high for the time being. The only time we're going to want to reduce the amount of taxation is if the lower strata starts running into issues with it. If the lower strata has a problem with it, you're definitely going to want to lower it. Trust me on that. But look at that. Look how much money we still got going. Look how much construction we got going up here. We are flying by here. In fact, I'm so worried that we're going so quickly that I'm probably going to need even more logging camps. So we're just going to put logging camps everywhere just to make sure that everything is covered. You might not need to do this, but it can help. Just make sure you don't run into any infrastructure problems. That's why I only usually put like 5 on each one. Usually there's enough for every single one of these states to have at least 5. Just make sure that your main construction areas like Shaanxi and southern Manchuria and Yunnan have pretty much the max amount of wood possible. Try not to go over infrastructure in the meantime, though, because that can be a problem if you're not careful. Okay, let's unpause again, shall we? Alright, we got Laissez-Faire now. That is pretty good for what we need. We're going to immediately take the Yunnan forestries here. It is going to cost us a pretty penny, but we still got a little bit to spare, thankfully. Unfortunately, we have not been lucky when it comes to dealing with France. We still can't get that dang cautiousness to go away. Sometimes it does go away on its own once it hits 50. Normally it goes away on 50 or 20 on amiable. But we did not hit that point, but we are looking at 300 construction already. We are taking quite a significant hit to our gold reserves, but if we can manage to get friendly with France in time, we will be able to attack Spain for recognition, and then we won't have to care about our credit at that point. So it's generally a good thing to get as much construction down as fast as humanly possible in that regard, and that is precisely why we are built this way. We're just built different. What can I say? Now, in preparation for the war, you might as well go for the professional army. In fact, we're even going to bring in the armed forces. Done and done. Now we should have like 29% on there. Maybe now we'll be friendly with France? Nope, still very cautious. Too bad. It's unfortunate, but sometimes RNG is cruel to you. What can I say? But, like I said, we're just going to keep running it through. We're probably not going to be attacking Spain until we're done with the opium trade anyways, because we don't want to deal with the unfortunate malices that come with the opium trade. Particularly, let's take a look here. 50% offense and 50% defense. But you'll notice something very impressive. We are not being attacked by Britain. This whole time, we haven't been dealing with Britain, and we've got to keep our 23,000, which is coming in really, really handy right now. We pretty much needed every darn cent. In fact, what I'm thinking about doing is pretty much importing grain. I'm thinking about it at the moment. We don't need it at the moment, to be honest. But let's get rid of our export at the very least so we can keep all of our grain for ourselves, because by doing that, we're going to keep our standard of living high enough so that it doesn't drop down and we don't have to remove our high taxes all the way down to medium taxes. Because for now, we're going to try to keep up on our gold reserve. If you do go into debt a little bit, it's not that big of a deal, as long as you don't end up in a debt spiral and end up with Greek debt. Actually, before we unpause, I should probably let you know that once we pause and unpause, what's going to happen to our bureaucracy is it's going to dump down immediately, and we're going to end up with probably about minus 200,000. At that point, here, let's do it right now. Sir, there we go. 4,860, and yeah, we're going to take a massive hit to our monetary. So what you're going to want to do is actually, instead of just building wood, what we're going to instead is go to our government administration, and we're just going to probably put it in Shaanxi for right now. I would say Shaanxi is probably your best bet. We can't really afford Beijing because they don't have any infrastructure at the moment. Let's do a little bit of southern Manchuria. Just spread it around. Make sure that it's in your main construction hubs because they're the ones that are making you the most money. Yeah, we'll do Guangdong, Fujian. That should work for now. And Hebei, that should work as well. And just by doing that, getting this number back to where it was around maybe like 1,000. If you want, you can even go back to 0 at that point, and just get that money up. You got to get that money up because right now we're taking too much of a hit. We're going to end up in Greek debt spiral if we're not careful. Okay, so let's unpause. Alright, despite the bad luck that we had with France, it looks like we are now capable of getting our alliance with them. Obviously, we don't want a defensive pact. We're going to go for that lovely obligation, and we're going to ally with France. Perfection. That's exactly what we needed. I did miss a few of the bans, but that's not going to make that big of a difference. Fortunately, we're not super duper in Greek debt yet. We will be very shortly if we're not careful, but thankfully, now that we have our lovely friendship with France, we're just going to run things out on our opium ban real quick. And by doing that, hopefully I don't miss the last ones. If I do miss the last ones, that could be a bit of a problem. But, yeah, just get the opium ban done first. I think you could probably attack Spain. Actually, let's get our interest down on Iberia right now. We're going to need that, I would say. So let's get our opium ban done first. And then once we're pretty well close to being done, we're then going to attack Spain. I would say around the 2-month mark, you can probably hit them. And the reason why we want to hit Spain is because they are a very easy and soft target, and that is unfortunately for them exactly what we need. We're going to go maybe 10 days in. That should be enough. Now, here's what's going to happen. We're going to right-click Spain. We're going to liberate country, and we're going to liberate Catalonia. It doesn't look like anybody's going to be joining into this war. Russia might. Russia's a bit of a pain when it comes to this, but we're going to deal with that as it comes. In fact, we might even try being friendly with Russia. I guess it's not going to happen. Could have probably done it at the beginning of the game, but we're not going to worry about it. Even if they jump into the war, we're still going to win it. We're just going to hold Russia on our own, and that's kind of the reason why I wanted you to wait until the opium trade itself is done. So, by doing a liberation on Spain, we're using up 30 diplomatic maneuver points. Now, we're going to unpause, get that war started, and we're going to wait until we can pull our lovely, lovely ally in. I guess that means we're going to have to wait a second for us to finish. Oh, we might get professional army done as well. That would be absolutely crazy if we do. Now, we got 1 more month before this lovely opium trade is done and dusted, and we are now in a position to pull in France. Perfect. Let's pull in our ally, but before we unpause, liberate another country. For us, we're going to do Andalusia, and I guess take Asturias, or you could probably just liberate Galicia or Navarra. I like to take Asturias, and the reason why, because there's gold there. I love gold. Gold. Gold is good. It's not a lot of gold, but hey, every little tiny bit of money counts, and you want money, 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 money. So take that gold, but don't force it on Asturias. Force it on Andalusia so you don't take any more extra infamy. I mean, you can afford it, right? And hopefully, we won't have Russia joining into the fight. But if we do, we can handle it. It won't be that big of a deal for us. We just got to be very patient. There we go. Russia's joining the fight, but that's okay because we can hold them off. We're just going to now boost up our troops. Boom, 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 boom. Done. Done. I guess that's enough for him. I don't even care about these guys, to be honest. We just need enough so that we're not taking any major penalties. And our mobilizations are already dealt with, right? Good. Now we're just going to move these guys to this front, and we're going to hold them here pretty much for the entire fight. Once we're done with the Opium crisis, we're not going to lose against Russia. It's just not going to happen. In fact, if the war drags on too long and it ends up being a very long fight, we're guaranteed to win because we're going to get line infantry and professional army done in the meantime. And I don't think it's going to be that much of a problem anyways because France is definitely going to be able to take Spain out. And that's pretty good. We're just going to have to white peace Russia after the fact. Unfortunately, we have not been paying attention to our construction. It looks like we took in a minor hit. We are keeping our money at relatively good levels. But you're going to want to be able to build as many logging camps as you can. Make sure to keep that going. Obviously, I didn't do a particularly good job. Hopefully, you'll do a better job than I did. And yeah, we'll put them in northern Manchuria. I guess 15's fine. Inner Mongolia, Sichuan, Henan, and Hubei. There we go. That should be good for now. Maybe not. Let's do a little extra just to be on the safe side because I tend to forget these things, especially when there's so many other things going on. Let's see what the infrastructure is looking like. Who cares about what kind of money it's going to earn you? At the end of the day, it's just about getting those numbers up. And infrastructure is definitely our biggest issue in the early game, especially since we're not beelining for railways. That should be enough. Hopefully that's enough. That'll keep it going. Yes, we're going to take a lot of debt in the meantime, but every single time I've gone into debt, it doesn't matter because once you get recognition from Spain, that debt, like the interest just disappears. It almost completely melts, and you'll be able to recover your finances relatively easy afterwards. In fact, another thing that you're going to want to do to recover your finances is to get rid of this tax waste. So we're just going to do a little bit of that. We're not going to do a whole bunch of it, just enough so that we get to 0. If we get to 0, we're golden, and we're happy at that point. So that should be enough. Hopefully that's enough. Anyhow, let us now continue on with the war. Actually, before we continue, obviously I got to deal with the opium crisis first, so let's run that through before we do anything else, shall we? There we go. Ban, unban. Perfect. Did that not work that time? Nope, it didn't. I must have missed it. Or did I bug it? Ooh, that couldn't be good. That'd be an interesting bug if that's the case. But there we go. Now it's dealt with. Gone, done, and dusted. Took a little longer than we would have preferred, but that's okay. We get our lovely authority, our influence, our legitimacy, and the most important thing is our troops are no longer garbage tier. That is huge. We're going to fix our advances because, you know what? I think we could probably just beat Russia. If I didn't use up all of my war maneuvers already, I probably could have put it on Russia and then done some damage to them. That's fine. The goal is to just get recognition. Everything else is pretty much unnecessary in that regards. I think I am going to move these guys down to help with France, though, because it looks like France might have trouble without their help. Hopefully, we don't run into any too many troubles. But it looks like we're winning on this front here because they're not going to be able to match our numbers. And even if they do match our numbers, we can always just get more numbers, especially once we get professional army and we can make hussars out of our numbers, which is what I'm definitely going to do. You'll probably see in the fast forward.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
we go. We have recognition. We are fully recognized. And take a look at what happened here. We're in the positive. Of course, we're only in the positive because I forgot to build. That's a bit of an accident on my part, but take a look at that interest. We pretty much cut it down into a third, and all of that money is going into the investment pool anyways, which means they are going to start building on their own. I think the only reason why they're not building on their own is because they're buying up pretty much everything that we built already. Thankfully, we are now in a position where we can actually start modernizing. We should have pretty much everything caught up at this point except for our tools. We're going to have to probably import a little bit on our tools just to make up for the difference. That's not too bad at the moment, but I guess we could start building some tool markets just to make up for the fact that we were not paying attention. Obviously, that's something that you should probably be doing better than what I did. But, oh, darn, we're already at cap for the infrastructure here, so I guess I'm going to have to put it somewhere else. How about Shandong? Yeah, Shandong's okay. We're going to do that then. Put 5, 10 tools in here. That should help cover us for now. Maybe a couple more tools over here just to make sure that everything is functional the way that we want it to. We are going to have to swap these off to crude tools, and the reason why is because we do not have iron at the moment, but we are going to start building iron now that we're at the 300 mark and we're no longer super duper in Greek debt, thankfully, because we have the wonderful nature that is recognition. So we're just going to find an area with our... Oh, I guess you got a little bit. You can start being the one that starts our iron. And so far, so good. We are doing pretty well here. We are going to have to correct a lot of these, but there we go. Inner Mongolia is good for iron, so that's going to be the one that we build predominantly in. We are going to eventually start to swap over to iron frame to make up the difference. But thankfully, we are not in any immediate danger when it comes to money. Now comes the problem of upgrading our university system. We should probably get a couple built in the meantime. Don't be afraid to go over the cap on there because 40 to 60%, I think 60% of pretty much everything that you build regarding universities goes towards the innovation spread. And that is definitely something that you're going to want to do. The problem is obviously infrastructure, and we cannot use ports for infrastructure because we're trying to maximize the amount of money that we have. So you're just going to have to be patient in the meantime. As for Russia, we're just going to make peace with them, get this out of the way. Done and dusted. Now we are looking very strong. We have full construction going on, and we are barely losing money, only about 100,000. We have moments where we actually go above, and all we have to do is increase our bureaucracy just a tiny bit, and we should be within the minus 50,000 range, which is perfect for where you want to be as a recognized country. We are already in third rank, but I imagine that once we pick a war with Britain, we will go all the way up to first rank. Let's see, who do we have the most amount? And that's not particularly good for what we need, but got to use up whatever infrastructure you can and get that done. So what I'm going to let you know next up is once we're relatively close to getting line infantry, we're going to be attacking Britain and India. And the reason why is because based off of the guide that I looked over, you're going to want to take advantage of the fact that this guy here is cautious because he has a minus 20% infamy generation. And when you do attack India, you have to do it relatively early because otherwise the guy dies on you. You will only have a minus 80 on infamy, so we're going to put an interest down here. In fact, we're going to put an interest here on England too, because unlike the guide, we're going to do it a little bit different. We're going to completely hamstring Britain the moment the war starts, and the reason why is because we're not actually going to be fighting in India. We're going to be boat cheesing the hell out of Britain to completely decimate them and prevent them from ever becoming a problem for Qing ever again. Alright, it's time for us to finally get into the war. Let's take a look over here at British East India Company. We're going to transfer the subject, and it looks like France won't join the war. Well, you know what? There's actually a way around that. I think the reason why is because they're in the middle of a fight right now, and that sucks. And they got a lot of turmoil. That's not good either. But there is a workaround. It's not as good, mind you. It does kind of hurt a little bit because you're not going to be able to completely liberate everything you want. You won't be able to liberate Wales. You won't be able to liberate Scotland and Ireland. But by liberating Ireland, you're going to very easily pull France into the war because that's how much they hate Britain. They don't care if France is suffering as long as they can make Britain suffer too. And now that they're in the war, we are going to, and the reason why I didn't do the war goal check where you get the free extra 20 maneuvers by pulling them in is because there's a chance they won't join in, and we can't have that, especially when they're only at +2. So we're going to pull in the British East India Company now. Look at that, only 84 war infamy. That's pretty dang good. And we're going to liberate, how about Wales? I think that's worth more, isn't it? Yeah, I think that's worth more. And I guess we'll take war reparations too while we're at it. We might as well do whatever we can to really, really hurt Britain. And that is it. We're in the war. Okay, now let's upgrade everything in the meantime. Boom, boom. Boom, boom. Make sure to import if you need to. And we're going to just abuse our conscripts. Just do everything you can to do as much damage as you can, because that is effectively what the name of the game is here. And no, don't worry about money because we have money. Look at that, we're in the positive even still. In fact, I better build some more things. I'm actually going to wait for the power block. It's only 8 months until I get the mandate. And once I get the mandate, we're going to go for transport. The reason why we're going to go for transport is obviously because we need that infrastructure so badly. I'm actually crying right now for infrastructure. I might even build in Yangzhou just because. Yeah, we're going to do that because we cannot let it run down otherwise. I guess we'll put 14, 16, 18 there, but hopefully that's enough for now. Might as well put a couple in here while we're at it. They got a little bit of infrastructure to work with. That's okay. That's okay. Yeah, we'll do 2 or 3. Boom. That should keep it going. And once we get to about, I'm going to say 1,000 iron, we're going to pretty much switch off Shaanxi's construction sector into, into iron frame, because it's going to be 700 per 15. And that's quite a lot of iron, and we do not have atmospheric engines yet, but the only reason why we're doing that is because at 300 there really isn't any purpose of us keeping to push up the amount that we have, mostly because unfortunately our investment pool hasn't caught up to what we have yet. Now you could keep building, believe it or not, make as many construction sectors as you want, and if you really want to min-max that hard, you could. I'm not going to stop you, but instead I'm going to focus instead on the war. My goal now is to take India, and it looks like we are in a very, very good position. Let's move you in, and you're already at 8. Good. As for Britain, we are going to boat cheese like we've never boat cheesed before. I'm going to, in fact, split you up even more. Boom. And there we go. No, we only have 3 anyways. Well, whatever. We got 4 now. I'll split you up in half here. Done. The reason why is because we're going to attack everything that we can, as much as we can, as frequently as we can, to make as many landfalls as we can on Great Britain, to pull these troops away so that we can make landfall on home countries, and if we make landfall on home countries, they lose. That's the goal of boat cheese and boat spam. And just like that, Britain is completely toast. We have completely demolished Britain. We have taken India. And look at that. We're #1 in ranking. Beautiful. And it's only been it's only been 8 years. And look at that, we're still in the positive with 300 construction, and we haven't even been completely fixating on construction this entire playthrough. You could actually push this up even higher if you really tried. But there you go. That is how to completely min-max as Great Qing in the early game. There are so many ways that you can improve on this, particularly regarding construction. I imagine that if you involved adding logging camps in between every few or maybe 3 or 4 different construction sectors, you can actually make even more money up front without having to deal with the major costs that I did, particularly regarding wood in government construction. But doing that will actually slow down the amount of construction overall, and I prefer to just get it out as fast as humanly possible and take the monetary hit. It's not like you're looking at a Greek debt moment here. In fact, this is extremely manageable, and I think that as far as runs go, this is probably one of the better runs I've ever had for Great Qing. The only one I've had that was better is when I also managed to take Scotland, but for that, obviously, France did not have to be in a war with Persia. We're very unlucky. We got pretty unlucky with a lot of rolls here. There was one thing I forgot to mention, though, and that is unbanning Opium by clicking on the journal and then clicking unban Opium. And the reason why you want to do that, obviously, is because Opium is amazing and you don't want to lose it. Use it. It's great. From here on out, though, I mean, it's up to you to make your own path, make your own destiny. That is by far the best method I found, though. And the easier method, obviously, is taking Singapore and taking the $23,000 hit. But if you do that, you'll probably be at around 280 construction instead of 300 construction. Or you can just beeline for 300 construction anyways, and you'll probably be at around like 50 million credits. Not the end of the world. I mean, it'll take a little more effort to fix after the fact, but I mean, you don't even really need to fix it once you're recognized, because you kind of want to be in this position anyway, so you can give the investment pool as much money as humanly possible, especially since we're on Laissez-Faire, especially since our actual total amount of loan interest is really, really pitiful. It's already at minus 55%. It's crazy. See, it's crazy. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed the video. Again, I hope it comes out quick and easy for you. Very easy to digest. Anyhow, hail Hydra Cat.